I don't understand. Why do y'all keep saving him? Like, this guy is just here taking up space. Like, y'all are not interested in this dude. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Jada here, back with another video. So as you can tell by the title, we are going to be talking about Queen's Court. So this was over on the Peacock network. So I had actually heard about this over on Instagram. I saw it on the Neighborhood Talk. It was pretty much saying that Evelyn Lozada and Tamar Braxton, they had gotten engaged, okay? And I was like, wait, hold up. This was a show? You know, I'm like, okay. So Queen's Court was basically kind of like The Bachelorette, but except it's with 3 different women. So you got 3 different eligible bachelorettes that are also above the age of, I think, 40. So they're pretty up there. I would probably consider them semi-cougars at this point, but I have to take that back because technically the men that they did bring onto the show as possible contenders, they were all within that same age bracket. So none of them were like significantly younger, except for maybe like 1 or 2. And I think this was like early on that they kind of got rid of them anyway. Pretty much the premise of they bring in a group of guys and they pretty much kind of have to, as the 3 ladies, oh, let me mention the 3 ladies. So obviously I already said Evelyn Lozada, Tamar Braxton, and then you have Nivea. Of course, Tamar and Evelyn, I kind of know them more so from like reality TV. Tamar, she was on The Real, I think, for a little while. Of course, way before it got canceled. And then Nivea is a singer. It's been rather interesting, obviously, in their love lives. They even talk about it in the show. Throughout the episodes, they kind of discuss, like, you know, their traumatic experiences within their relationships and past marriages for at least Tamar and Evelyn. Nivea, I don't think she's been married. I think this is just mainly just relationships. They're all coming with children and they're above the age of 40. So there's a lot going on here, and I know there's probably gonna be some people in my comments like, oh, you know, they're all old and washed up, and it's just kind of like, I mean, they're still looking good, you know, there's still some possibilities, you know what I'm saying, if you take care of yourself. Personally, I think Evelyn looks great body-wise. Tamar looked like she lost a little bit of weight too, so, you know, yeah. But honestly, before I hop into it though, in terms of that, I do have a comment that I want to say. I'm going to go into more detail about it later in this video, but I do feel like when it comes to older women, they tend to be more stuck in their ways and a little bit more resistant to your charm. And I think that's also kind of good and bad all at the same time, because it shows that you're not going to be moved off of your list of requirements. But at the same time, I do feel that it kind of shows that you're not really as flexible as like the younger women, literally and figuratively. I think that when it comes to relationships, there's a lot of give and take. But when you get older, I feel like once you're stuck in how you want things to be done and how you want things to go, I do feel ultimately that it kind of plays into your relationships maybe not really working out because you're not really willing to give and take. You know what I mean? So yeah, but anyways, premise of the show, they bring in these group of men. They have 3 women, Evelyn, Nivea, and Tamar, and it's hosted by Holly and Rodney Pete. So they're the people that's basically coordinating all of these meetups and bringing the guys. So after meeting these men, they would ask them, the 3 women, they would ask the guys like, hey, do you want to go on a date with me? And each of them, I think, would ask about 3 or 4 guys on a date. And obviously with that date, they'll be able to get to know them, have some one-on-one time, but technically the guys are still competing ultimately for the attention of the women. And at the end of these little meetups and all that, they bring in the guys to this dinner, okay? They bring in the guys to this kind of elimination dinner, and it's pretty much kind of like a do or die type of moment. So that's like your last moment slash ditch effort to really share yourself, open up, talk to these women, really try to show more of yourself to get to stay in the house to obviously date them a little bit longer. But if they decide at the end of the night that you're not their king, then you gotta go. But there were some interesting characters on this show from the jump. Gatsby was definitely one of those gentlemen, okay? He could not stop talking. I was like, oh my God, please shut up. And honestly, that was the first thing that the women had noticed as well with him, is that he did not know how to be quiet. He kept talking. And even though he had a very vibrant personality that kind of went along with it, he made jokes, he made other people laugh, but he also kind of made jokes that made other people uncomfortable a little bit. So it was just kind of like, okay, you gotta know when to stop, you know? And even Tamar kind of conveyed that to him. He got invited to that elimination dinner a couple of times too, because they was about to get rid of his behind, but he managed to save himself, okay, by saying the right things. But it was like, my guy, you're still doing the same thing over and over again. Like, please stop talking. There was one time that he put his foot in his mouth when I think he went on a date with Evelyn. He said something to the effect of dating an older woman and how she had a lot of money, so that's kind of why he was with her. She was like 60 something, and Evelyn's just looking at him like, what are you saying to me right now? Like, are you a gold digger? You know, it's just wow. So like I said, he just kept putting his foot in his mouth because he just kept talking. That definitely stood out to me as very problematic, because I'm not the type of person to want to hear you talk all dang day, you know? So he was one of the persons that stood out. And then of course they did bring in a younger guy, and I can't quite remember his name. I don't remember a lot of these individuals' names because I took so long to make this dang video, but it was a guy. I think that they got rid of him in like literally the first round or so. Like the first round of eliminations, they got rid of him, either first or second. But he, you know, was a younger gentleman. He had a good personality, but when he sat down with Evelyn and a couple of the other guys, I don't know if he just felt not as confident in himself or what, but it just really felt like he was trying to puff up his chest a little bit, you know, like he was getting in an argument. Really just escalated really quickly out of nowhere. And it was a conversation, literally it wasn't meant to be that serious. So honestly, like if you watch it back, it was not meant to be that deep. And Evelyn had a flashback of like her relationship that was, you know, I'm not gonna say that word, but basically physically and I think emotionally as well, verbally, everything. And that marriage did not last long. I think that was to, geez, what was his name again? She was married to, I believe, the football player Chad Johnson, or Chad Ochocinco Johnson, and that got dissolved within the year, okay? Didn't even last past the first year. So it was a very traumatic experience for her, and you could definitely see that that still affects her to this day. Even though that marriage ended in 2012 and that was years ago, like you could still see the effects of that on her. And you know, I really like the fact that she eventually, when they had the opportunity to bring in someone that would vet these men or help to vet these men with them, like a friend or a family member, Evelyn chose to bring in her oldest daughter. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Or at least I think it's her only daughter actually. Anyway, but her daughter, she came in and she started talking to these guys that Evelyn had in mind, and she just looked at her mom and was like, listen, there's a lot of things that I'm not gonna necessarily say on camera, but just know that these past relationships that I've seen you in, we can't have that happen again. But I've talked a lot about Tamar and Evelyn so far. I haven't said anything about Nivea. So Nivea came in and she was kind of flirting with everybody, you know, trying to get to know everybody, which, you know, obviously is the point, okay, to get to know everyone. But what gets me is that she started to form attachments to people. But I remember there was this big hefty dude. I remember he came in, and as soon as they locked eyes, I think they were like taking pictures at one point with each other. And as soon as they locked eyes, Nivea, like, she was already smitten. But it felt like a very lustful relationship. Like, she couldn't really look him in the eye. It just really felt weird, you know? It's just kind of like, okay, there's a lot of sexual tension between you and this dude and a couple other dudes, but I feel like you're here for love, not just lust. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, I felt like she was there. It almost felt like with the wrong intentions, really. Even though her friends had came in and they kind of grilled him, they were like, listen, if you're here to just break her heart and not really keep her on track with marriage and stuff like that, because that's ultimately what she wants. If you're not gonna do that for her, then you gotta go. You're just gonna be wasting her time. And they were really hard on him, I'm not gonna lie, but it was like, okay, that's kind of needed, but at the same time, if your friend ain't choosing correctly, that's also kind of her fault as well. You know, it's kind of 50-50 here. She had to choose him too, so yeah. Either way, at the end of the day, she ended up having connections with these people. For example, there was this one white dude, I think he was a UFC fighter. He didn't really bring much to the table, I'm just gonna be honest. I did not understand the appeal. It was him and maybe one or two other white guys, but I think they were all interested in Evelyn. Except, actually, no, JR was actually the one that was interested in Tamar from the beginning, okay? So correction. But there were two white guys that were interested in Evelyn. And this one that I'm talking about here, he started off talking to everybody, and then I think Nivea kind of noticed him, and she started to form connections to him, and I was like, why? I don't understand. And they kept saving him. I think he got invited to that elimination dinner like at least 3 or 4 times before they got rid of him for real. And I was like, why do y'all keep saving him? Like, this guy is just here taking up space. Like, y'all are not interested in this dude. Like, there was so many people that I was like, y'all know y'all lying to yourselves right now, saving these people. Y'all know y'all don't have no connection with these men. Let them go home. I really did not understand the appeal. But like I said, some of them, for example, Evelyn, she was trying to look past just the looks. Like, she was trying to get to know people really, but with him, I did not understand. Like, he brought nothing to the table. He kept saying like, you don't know me, you don't know me, you know, but I'm just like, yeah, you're right. We don't know you. Like, it was really weird. But Nivea started to get feelings for him, and ultimately he was like, yeah, I don't really have feelings for you like that. So I'm sorry that I can't really reciprocate it. I have it more so for Evelyn. But Evelyn wasn't paying him any mind. Evelyn was paying this man dust. Literally, she was sitting down one time and I think she was having a conversation with somebody, and they left to give him a shot. And he sat down and started to try and talk to her, and she was like, what is this? It was so awkward. I was like, what is happening? There was no attraction, physically or emotionally, like none. Right after that, I think Lavelle had came in. Is it Lavelle or Lamar? Lamar? My bad. It's actually Levon. Levon Lewis was the name of the guy. She was smitten with him from the beginning, okay? Like, I could tell that their personalities gelled really well. And he did seem like a man, you know what I mean? Like, not somebody who's just gonna just take what you say. And it was like a 50-50 thing. It really felt like he had a strong masculine presence, and I really like that. Definitely my boyfriend for sure. Okay, that's why from the jump I was interested. Okay, but anyways, I'm not here to talk about me. Woo, woo, woo. I think that when you exude that level of confidence but not cockiness is very important, and you see that play out through almost all of these like love related reality shows. I think honestly women are just attracted to masculinity, even though they claim that it's like they want you to show your emotions and cry. A lot of these women out here, y'all be lying. y'all be lying. Of course you want someone to share intimate things with you, and you want them to obviously feel comfortable with sharing things that might be more of a emotional nature. Yes, you want them to share that with you, but let's be honest, if a guy is to break down in front of you every single time something's going wrong in his life, come on now. You're probably gonna look at him like, please get it together. Tell me I'm wrong. I want you to tell me that I'm wrong because I know I'm not. But honestly, I think that kind of reminds me of The Perfect Match. Check that out here, okay? But y'all remember Dom? In that video, I talked about Dom, and literally every 2 seconds, this man was crying about something. And I was like, I'm gonna need you to get it together, Dom. Like, this is not looking good. But anyway, back on track with Queen's Court. So basically, there was a lot of kind of like mixed emotions and feelings. Obviously, people starting to get attracted in an emotional sense to people. And there was one guy where I think Evelyn, she kind of was looking past, obviously, the physical, because I'm not gonna lie, he did not look like her type at all. Because he was wearing a suit, he looked put together, but ultimately when it came to like obviously scruff and, you know, his hair just looked undone. It was like, what is going on? I think he had like locks at the end of his hair, but he had like the rest of his hair open. It wasn't in the locks. So it just looked crazy, you know? I was like, what is going on? So like I said, he did not look like her type at all, but she kind of opened up to him because he had started off with talking about how he lost his daughter. That's why he kind of got a tattoo, remember her? And Evelyn was like, wow, I wouldn't know how to deal with losing my kid. And she started getting emotionally kind of invested in him. But then he kind of showed his behind a little bit after getting a little tipsy, okay, one night. And he started getting a little too touchy, a little too close. And Evelyn definitely did not like that. I did not even like that looking at it, okay? I really did not. And I was just kind of like, what is going on? You know what I mean? I really was confused on that one. So yeah, he ended up getting sent home after that. If she tells you to move, like you're too close to her, why would you get even closer to her? You know what I mean? So that was really weird. Like my family members always say, like when it comes to drinking, child, we'll see the real you. That's all I gotta say. It'll come out. The truth is guaranteed to come out. So he got sent home. There's a lot of people that presented red flags really early. So I'm happy that they just kind of sent them home. But when it came to people presenting red flags, I think Evelyn was quick to send people home. But when it came to Nivea, I think she just was keeping people around just for fun. It didn't really seem like she was invested really in this process. It just felt like, I'm meeting people, this is cool, but at the end of the day, I'm just having fun. You know, like that's the vibe that I got from her. And, you know, obviously people have differing personalities. Like she jokes around a lot. She likes to have fun. But I feel like watching it back, Evelyn and Tamar just seemed a little more serious than Nivea. Nivea just didn't seem like she was in a place in actuality to move on with somebody after the show. It just really felt like she was just there to have fun, if I'm going to be honest. I know some people probably going to be in the comments like, you're judging her, but I follow the actions. I don't really listen to what people say. I look at how they're acting. And if you're not acting like you're taking something serious, I look at you sideways a little bit. So like I said, if they don't match up, if the words and the actions don't match up, I will look at you like, do you really want this, you know? And I'm gonna save it for a little bit later in the video again, but there was something at the end that definitely kind of verified what I was thinking about her. But ultimately, it kind of narrowed it down to, of course, a few bachelors. And with Tamar, I think her process was easier because she was definitely a lot more stuck in her ways. Like I said at the beginning, she was the person that I kind of wanted to discuss a little bit more with regards to, I think, men kind of wanting to stay away from dating older women, at least on a serious note in terms of marriage. I think that she was definitely a lot more stuck in places. And don't get me wrong, honestly, if you've experienced things that kind of made you become very guarded with your feelings and emotions, I understand why you would of course act that way ultimately. But it really felt like she was not really making progress. It just felt like like, you know, every 2 seconds, like there was another hurdle. It didn't feel like she was really there. Like she hadn't fully healed from some things, you know? But when it came to Gatsby, he did ultimately get sent home, mainly because Tamar, she, I think, just felt a ways about something that he said. But looking back at it, I don't really think he said anything necessarily disrespectful for once. Like I said, he kept putting his foot in his mouth, making jokes that kind of made people uncomfortable a little bit. But I personally don't feel like what he said that night that he got sent home was that crazy. I can't remember word for word what he said, but he basically was like, listen, I would like to know what's going on. I really am trying to figure out, like, why am I here? Like, are you actually interested in me? What's going on? To be fair, she hadn't really been talking to him. Like, she kept saving him from elimination and having to go home, but it was like, for what? So he was just kind of like, what are we doing? Basically, what are we doing? I think she just personally took offense to that. And she just was like, hey, he got to go home. He got to go. It was really weird. I didn't understand that one. I think that Tamar just doesn't like when people kind of put her on the spot. I think she felt embarrassed in that moment. I think that's what it was. And on top of that, I think she was trying to get rid of him for a while. I think she was battling with herself on it. But now this just kind of gave her a clear out to be like, okay, you gotta go. I just personally feel like she was less open to the process. I think she just was on here really to push herself out of that comfort zone, but you could tell the comfort zone was strong. Like, them walls around that comfort zone, fortress, okay? That's all I gotta say. I personally feel that at the end, it was nice seeing, obviously, them get proposed to. Well, actually, it was just Tamar that got proposed to on the show by JR. JR was kind of like the smooth talking white guy where I was just kind of like, yeah, I mean, he's nice, but it's like, what else? You know what I mean? So when he started to really open up to Tamar about obviously his upbringing and stuff like that, I thought that was cool. But I don't personally really see them lasting. Yeah, I know they're engaged now. I'm not sure if they've gotten married already, but I heard that they were in the planning process for the wedding. But I just personally don't think, if they do make it to marriage, I don't think it's gonna last that long. Ooh, I'm sorry. I don't see it. Even though I see the attraction is there, I just personally think that Tamar is probably going to be the one that sabotages her own relationship. Just based on some things that I've heard her say and the actions that I've seen her do, like, yeah. I personally think she's gonna sabotage it. But moving on to Evelyn, she ended up, of course, connecting with Levon. And shortly after that, after the show wrapped, I think he proposed to her. And it was really cute. I thought it was nice. I think that their personalities balance out really well. And I think out of all three women, Evelyn was the most open to this process. I think that's kind of why a lot of the guys were a little bit more drawn to her. Of course, she's a good-looking woman. We know this. Okay, duh. We have eyes, okay? But I think outside of that, they were more drawn to her energy. With Tamar, I felt like she was very much so, like I said, guarded. With Nivea, I just want to have fun, a lustful type of vibe. Even though she would get emotional here and there, I personally feel like she was just there to have fun. Like I said at one point in the video with regards to her, it got kind of verified really, even though I think, you know, she shed a couple tears, but when she had to basically make the decision between one guy or the other, she decided to not go with either men. And it was like, what was the point of this? What was the point? We're not saying that you have to get engaged to the dude, but you could just kind of date them for a little while, and then if it doesn't work out, you know, walk away. So that's kind of why it made me feel as though she was just there either to just be on the show or to just have fun, to show herself that she still got it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I think Queen's Court was interesting. I'm not sure if this is going to be a continued thing, like they're just going to keep on bringing on older women again and then just having guys come in to compete for them, you know? I don't know if that's going to be a continued thing. Maybe they just keep choosing different women to come onto the show. I don't know how that's going to work, or maybe if this was just a one-time thing. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about the show at all. Honestly, when I opened up, I was gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna talk about Queen's Court, the show that no one's been talking about. Honestly, I highly doubt this video is even gonna get that many views, to be real. Pretty sure no one really cares. But I thought it was a pretty interesting show to me, mainly because I knew Tamar and pretty much all three women. I was like, oh, okay, I'll watch it. You know, even though I obviously know the ending, well, at least for Evelyn and Tamar, I didn't know that Nivea just didn't choose anybody. But yeah, I still thought that it was a nice little ending, at least for Tamar and Evelyn. But yeah, I think it was okay. It was okay. I still felt like talking about it because I was like, why not? You know? Y'all let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.